It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here. We've got Eric Frandsen in the studio as well as always, or at least usually as always, when he's not gallivanting around on different trips and whatnot, much like we did for all of July.
Or sneaking into practices that are supposed to be closed.
Sneaking into practices. Did you sneak into Utah State practice today, Eric?
No. I was a good boy.
Get an email from Utah State eventually. Eric Frandsen is banned from everything because he snuck into practice for the umpteenth time.
Right.
But welcome on in. It's a Wednesday edition of the show. I was convinced today was Tuesday for some reason. I was trying to set alarms and notifications, and I was setting them all for Tuesday. And it was telling me, all right, this alarm will go off next week. And I was like, wait, what? So I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's Wednesday. So this week's going by a little faster than I was anticipating.
It's Wednesday for a few more hours, yes.
Yeah, for a few more hours. Then it'll be Thursday. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So I've got a lot more content we got to get putting out. Been putting out my opponent previews for Utah State football. I got the second one up today, Texas A&M. Probably the hardest team. Toughest team on Utah State's schedule, at least by preseason ranking. I know preseason ranking means jack all by the end of the season, but hey, it's all we got to roll with so far. And they should be a good team. But if you guys want to join the show, we got a ton to talk about today. Bunch of different topics, professional, college. We got the stat to blow our mind, players of the week that we didn't get to yesterday. And today, we will begin our reveal of the top 25 Aggies of 2025 in an unspecified order. But these are the players that we voted to be the top 25 best players on Utah State's football team. I know with how secret everything is, we were just like, we're not going to try and rank them 1 through 25, but we'll go ahead and keep doing the top 25 Aggies. And so that reveal will begin today. And this year, since we started a bit later, we're going to be revealing 2 per weekday from here until the Friday before, a week before the first game. So basically the game week is what, August 22nd to the 30th or whatever, 23rd to the 30th, something like that. So it'll be like August 19th or something like that. Or what is it, the
25th. 25th through the 30th.
25th through the 30th. So
that's game week.
The Friday before that will be when we release the last couple there. So whatever
August
date
22nd.
August 22nd. There we go. So from now until August 22nd, now that we know how calendars work, that is when the top 25 Aggies will be revealed. So we'll release 2 today. We'll release 1 at the end of this first segment here. We're going to start pretty strong with the reveal. And then next hour, we'll release 1 as well in the second segment, round 525 thereabouts. So we'll do the reveals that way. But we've also got Utah State Soccer. I know we had Manny Martins on last Friday. We've got more Utah State soccer news, more to go over with that team as they begin their Mountain West title defense. Utah Mammoth, they're in a lawsuit, another legal dispute over their name. We thought they dodged that with not being called Yeti. Well, apparently there's another company they have to fight with for their name.
Yeah.
And that's after all the branding has already been settled, so it could get a little trickier. And Utah State not going to play a Power 5 opponent, at least as often in the future. I know 2444, you sent in a link to the story that came out earlier today. We will get to that. So it has to do with Utah State series with Oregon, which was set to go. They're going to play 3 games. That's being trimmed down a little bit, but we'll get to that in the second hour. But we do have a few texts coming in on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line that we want to get to before we jump into the news about Utah State soccer, starting with 7200. Saying, why hasn't Utah State basketball released their non-conference schedule yet? I feel like I remember them releasing it in July last year. What games do we know are on their non-conference schedule already? So we thought it was going to get released back in like early June. Like Coach Calhoun was saying it was just about done in late May. When we sat down and talked to him, there was just a few more things to get done. Now it's been a few more things and a few more things and a few more things. So clearly things haven't gone according to plan for the coaches putting together the schedule. But yeah, as far as why, it's just because, things apparently haven't gone as smoothly as they thought. The paperwork, everyone's signing all the stuff they need to get these things done. That hasn't gone as smoothly as they were expecting. Because, I was expecting this to be out by now as well.
So I just looked it up. They released last year's schedule by mid-July, July 18th.
So they're a bit late. Of course, I think they've released the schedule about as late as this before. Obviously not last year, but I think there was a year where they didn't release it until like August or September, it felt like, because it was really late one of the years. I can't remember which. But as far as who's on, I have a spreadsheet at my desk. So I have all the data. I don't know if I can list it off the top of my head. But as far as non-conference opponents, you got road games at Charlotte, South Florida. You've got neutral site games. You have the multi-team event, which you could play one of or two of Tulane, Davidson, and Boston College. And then you have neutral site games against VCU and Illinois State, I want to say. And then I think they're playing Weber State. And there's somebody else, I think.
Did you already mention Memphis?
Oh, I haven't mentioned Memphis.
On Valentine's Day?
And on Valentine's Day. I think I might be missing one. But there's only one or two more games potentially to be on the non-conference schedule, aside from the ones that I've listed off. So mainly they need to add some home games. That's kind of the biggest thing they're missing. I think of all those, Weber State is the only home game. Oh, Weber State and Memphis, excuse me. Those are both home games. So they need to add a few more home games, particularly in November at the beginning of the season. Utah State usually begins with like 4 or 5 home games, maybe a road game interspersed within those, but they'll start the season with several home games, and they need to add a few of those. So that's kind of the way the non-conference schedule is looking right now. Then let's go to 8968. Saying, I was in Layton yesterday visiting a friend. One of his neighbors was giving me a bad time about how much better BYU was than the Aggies. Just looked him square in the face and told him, no doubts, for the money they shelled out buying teams in all sports, I would insist on national titles, maybe influence the NFL and maybe inference to the NFL and NBA. Might have been an autocorrect there on that last sentence. But obviously the point being, I know BYU, they're getting really hyped about their teams, and justifiably so, especially their basketball team. Football is a little iffy. I know that there are some that are going to believe they're going to be a top 25 team. Their quarterback room suddenly got a lot more
They're a top
concerning.
25 team in the preseason coaches poll, but there are a lot of teams in the last year's preseason poll that didn't even finish ranked.
And in the Big 12, they basically, like, if you look at their preseason poll, they didn't do one this year, and partly because last year's preseason poll, if you literally flipped the poll, you would have been more accurate in your prediction, which is an embarrassing failure as far as polls go. Or I think you would have been just barely less inaccurate. Now, somebody did the math on, like, could the preseason poll for last year for the Big 12 been any less accurate than it actually was? And the answer was it couldn't have been much closer to completely inaccurate. But yeah, with BYU, I mean, the one time I tweeted something to this effect, I had a bunch of BYU fans in my mentions for a couple of days. But yeah, when you spend that much money, you're going to get a lot of high quality recruits, and you're going to be able to say that you have a much better team, and it's going to be a much more, at least in terms of preseason ranking, it's going to be considered a more talented team than the Aggies. That's just the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. That's the way this sport is run now. It's always been kind of run by money, but maybe under the table. But once we get over the table money, BYU has been all over it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's why they're kind of taking over the state, especially in basketball. They're throwing money at it, and they're trying to take over Utah's spot, where Utah was the king of football for a decade and a half. They were like, BYU kind of disputed that for a few years, but Utah was they were the football team.
Very clear. Yeah.
They were, that was that. And now that supremacy is being called into question, especially now that Kyle Whittingham has entered the twilight years of his career, where a lot of coaches in their final years just aren't nearly as effective. And then once Kyle Whittingham's gone, I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. BYU's trying to take over in both football and basketball. But let's shift to Utah State soccer. This is where Utah State's been perhaps the dominant program in the state. Of course, BYU certainly had to say in that. They've gotten farther than Utah State. But the Aggies have beaten BYU a few times in the regular season and have made the NCAA tournament as well as the Cougars. And Utah State soccer in the preseason Mountain West poll, which came out this morning, they were picked to finish first. Fairly unsurprisingly, they got 6 of the 13 first place votes. Boise State finished not too far behind in second. The Aggies had 128 points in the poll. Boise had 121. They had Boise State getting 3 first place votes, and then Colorado State, San Diego State, I think in that order. I didn't have it pulled up for some reason, but they were 3rd and 4th. They each got a vote in the poll for first place. And then randomly New Mexico got 2 votes, but they're 7th.
That one was the biggest surprise to me. They're 7th overall, but they got 2 first place votes. So either somebody knows something or somebody's a big homer.
It reminds me of the one year where San Jose State in women's basketball was picked to finish last, but they got a first place vote. And jokes on the rest of the voters, San Jose State finished in like the top 3 that year, if I remember correctly. So it was like somebody knew something
right.
about San Jose, and maybe 2 somebodies know something about New Mexico. Although the Lobos, they finished 9th each of the last 2 years in women's soccer, though they did finish 3rd 3 years before that. It's not like they've been a bottom feeder of the conference forever. Though 9th isn't necessarily a bottom feeder, but they've won 5 conference games in the last 2 years. But maybe they bounce back. I don't know. But I think you've got a pretty clear top echelon of the Mountain West right now, where Utah State is the best team in the conference. But you've also got some really good programs, Boise State and San Diego State. Mind you, for Utah State, being as good as they've been the last 2 years, actually haven't won the regular season title.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years. Boise,
True.
For Utah State going 18-1-5 last year, they didn't win the regular season title. Boise State did. Utah State had a slip up against Wyoming, and I think another slip up where they tied a game they shouldn't have. And that led to Boise State winning the regular season title. And then the year before that, San Diego State won the regular season title. So, like, there are teams that can win the Mountain West over the Aggies very easily. Even in Utah State's best year ever, they still didn't win the regular season title because they slipped up in 1 or 2 games. And that's all it takes.
Yeah, what this preseason poll tells me is that there's a lot of good soccer being played in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And there are any number of teams that could challenge to be very solid. Some good programs, good coaches, very talented players. Utah State and Coach Manny Martins, I saw a video that they shared of him earlier today, basically saying, this is nice, but really this is a reflection of how things ended last year. And preseason polls are just a reflection of how the season previous ended.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. I mean, you see that in a lot of cases.
To some degree, but
it also is a reflection of what is the program? What is the coaching? Do you have what kind of what level of returning talent are you going to be able to utilize this year? Impact players from the previous season who are coming back. Did you get a notable transfer in? And Utah State checks a good number of those boxes.
Yeah, they do, because that's usually where these preseason polls come from. Like, number one, it's where were you last year? But as you said, it's all about where you are as a program. Like Boise State getting picked to finish first in every single football poll since they've been in the conference. That's a reflection of their program, even though they only win the conference like a third of the time. It's a reflection of their program. And then, yeah, as far as what you've kind of measurably brought in or what you're returning. Now, Utah State, they bring in a really good Division II player, great 4-year player from some university in Colorado. I suddenly can't remember the exact name, but Carly Connor's her name, so she's coming in. They bring in 2 good transfer goalkeepers because they lost like their entire back line and like half their goalkeeper room. So that's a lot of the stuff they're losing. But then, along with bring in some good transfers to fill some of those holes. Utah State finished 6th in the nation last year in goals per game. And they bring 4 of their top 5 goal scorers back. Where they've lost pretty much their entire defense, they've kept virtually all of their offense. Busy Arevalo is basically kind of the one major hit to the goal scoring and assist getting for this team. Because you bring back Summer Down, you bring back Tess Wertz, you bring back Kate Christian, Kaylee Chambers, you bring back all of those players. And, the gap between Utah State and the second best offense in the Mountain West was massive. Utah State scored 62 goals. The next closest scored 41. So this is a great offense. And they're returning basically everybody. And they've got some up-and-coming players. Austin Miller, a freshman last year, had 4 goals, 5 assists. She's getting a year older. So this offense is probably going to get slightly better overall. And so it's Utah State's not just completely rebuilding after peaking last season. They're going to be a team that's they probably won't reach what they did last year because they've got some really big questions to answer on the back line. They're not going to have a bunch of 5th and 6th year players on their back line because that was just a legendary Aggies defense for 3 or 4 years where they averaged 0.6 goals per game for a 3 or 4 year span. They're not going to have that again. But they are going to have a really good offense that's been building itself over the last few years. Yeah, so they don't do a preseason team per se. I thought they'd had at one point. I can't remember if they just got rid of it. Yeah, what they do instead is a 2025 Mountain West players to watch. So they just do a watch list. So basically and I think it's a specified number of players from each team. It's basically 3 players from each team. Yeah. And so for Utah State, the players that get highlighted here, and you've mentioned their names, Kaylee Chambers, Summer Diamond, Tess Wertz. Those are players that had significant impact last year. Excited to see their continued impact for Utah State as they continue to grow and play a larger role for the team. But this is a team that has some very special players on it, trying to build off of the success that they had last year. Yeah, and I think they very well will manage to pull that off. They're going to be a good soccer team. I don't know if they're going to reach number 7 in the poll, the United Soccer Coaches poll. That's the poll they use. But they could probably still get ranked this year with I think how good they can be. And they've got enough tough games that if they win a bunch of them, games against Washington State, Kansas, BYU, Utah, they're going to play the Utah Gambit again, which is going to include a couple of Big 12 teams, along with Kansas being another Big 12 team. So they're going to play some tough teams, and they're going to have a chance to prove themselves again, and I think they will. They're going to have some games where they might win 4-3 because they might have some growing pains with that defense, especially because a lot of them are young. They're probably going to have to play some young players on that defense. Maybe not start, but they're probably going to have some defenders play that are a bit younger than they're used to having, where they would have, center backs and wings playing 2,000 minutes in a season. They may not have that luxury this season. But again, they're going to be a really solid team. Let's get to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Before we hit a break, I lied. I said we're going to do top 25 during this segment. We'll start the next segment with it. Yeah, it's coming. Don't worry. I won't lie to you too much on this show. But some follow-ups on other texts, 8968. Going back to when we were talking about BYU, you're saying, I was just tired of hearing BYU fans boast on how much money they have to spend. They're going to keep bragging about it. Yeah, if they have the money to spend, they're going to spend it. But the question is, are they basically going to become Texas A&M? Right. Yeah, it's a great analogy, example. Texas A&M, a few years ago, Jimbo Fisher is going around they got the highest priced roster in college football. And what did they do with it? Not much at all. They've woefully underperformed based on the money that they spent. So just because somebody has a lot of money to throw around to build a roster, and we've seen this across all of sports, professional and college, just because you have a lot of money to spend to assemble a roster does not mean you're going to have a good team or a good record. Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into that. A couple more texts from 9315 before we go to break. One saying, I think BYU fans are just salty because USU has Bronco Mendenhall now.
I think they're okay with the guy they have right now.
Yeah, well, I know. I think it was Scott Gerard. I think he put out a poll asking, like, if Kalani Sitake stopped coaching, like, who's the second best coach in BYU history? And I think it was Bronco Mendenhall and Kalani Sitake. I think Bronco still, like, was winning that poll, but I mean, it's like the fact that it was a question shows that, like, I don't think they're too torn up about it.
Yeah.
And then 935 also adding, also don't forget Lavelle Edwards, the USU great fit in this category to make BYU fans salty. Well, I think BYU got the better end of Lavelle Edwards' career.
I don't think they feel salty about that at all.
We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll reveal the first player on our top 25 Aggies of 2025.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Express Tires for less.
Safety and comfort on the road are Express Tire's top priority. As a Point S team member, count on peace of mind with an inclusive warranty that includes nationwide protection. Any brand, any size, better pricing. No appointment necessary on the highway at 3200 North Main.
Express Tires for less.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
I'm a wife and the mother of 2 kids, and I've got a good job.
Bye, Mom.
See you, Mom.
A pretty important job. Because of my family and my job, I really care about this neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. Yes, there's some crime. And when I drive to work, like now, I realize that some people here don't trust the police. So the police should be reaching out to this community, and this community should reach out to the police. That's the way to make this a safer place. And when I get to work in the precinct house and put on my uniform, I can tell you as a police officer that this department is reaching out to the community, and the community is doing its part. We're building partnerships. This should be happening everywhere. This is how we can all be safer. Get involved. Start the conversation.
Start the conversation and help stop crime. To learn the 5 things you can do, go to ncpc.org/prevent violent crime. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. And for first time since last year, we're releasing the top 25 Aggies of 2025. I don't know where I was going with that segue. It started
first time since
last time we did this. So it's a little later than normal. Well, we have the top 25 Aggies of 2025. Again, a reminder, we're not ranking them, but we voted on a group of 25 players that we believe will be the top contributors for this football team this year.
Yeah, and there were how many of us who contributed to this?
5 or 6?
6. So you, me, Craig Hislop, J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and
Ajay
Salveson. Yeah, so there were 6 of us who came up with our own list of 25 Aggies who we thought would be the most impactful this season. And then based on those results, we came up with our top 25.
And so here's the first reveal in our non-specific order of release of the top 25 Aggies of 2025.
The Cache Valley Media Group's Top 25 Aggies begins today with the first player reveal. Our first player to be revealed on this year's list is offensive lineman Tavo Motu'apuaka. Standing 6'4" and weighing 330 pounds, Tavo hails from Honolulu, Hawaii, and came to Utah State out of Mililani High School. Tavo was a redshirt sophomore who should be one of Utah State's starting guards this year. He missed all of last season because of an injury, but as a redshirt freshman in 2023, he played and started 7 games at right guard.
So that's Tavo Motu'apuaka, Utah State right guard, at least the last time he appeared for the Aggies. But that was in 2023, as he missed all of last year due to an injury. I don't know if they ever specified the injury. Granted, I just haven't had occasion to ask. If I asked, they'd probably tell me. But yeah, started 7 games, I think is what it was. So
started 7 games last year, in 2023. In
2023, yeah.
As a redshirt freshman.
So this is a guy who has experience. I think some people may have forgotten. Like, I know you say all the starters are gone, but like, he would have started last year. You know, he started as a redshirt freshman. Could have played last year if he'd been healthy. And so I'm expecting, I don't know if it'd be specifically right guard, maybe it's left guard, but he's going to start on that interior offensive line, I would expect. If he doesn't start, then as harsh as it sounds for Tavo, it's probably good news because it means you got somebody even better.
Right.
And Tavo would still play. I think he's too good to sit entirely. He would just come in likely as a sub and he'd fill in somewhere along the interior offensive line. So one way or another, Tavo's going to make an impact this season on that offensive line. He returns a lot of key experience for that offensive line.
Yeah, he does. He's got great size. 6'4", 330 pounds. That's solid size and weight.
That's bulky. That's borderline NFL size and weight.
Yeah, to be right there on that big front. So he's got the right size. He's got some good experience. And it just, again, we just don't know if other guys are going to be. We just don't know where he is on the depth chart and what exactly position that he will play. But he is somebody who has that experience. He's got that size. He had some time. He had to recover from an injury, but he's had time on the sideline to observe, watch, learn, and be better. And so excited for that level of experience and size and ability for Utah State on its front line.
Yeah, it should be a big, again, returning. I was going to say big addition, big returner. He kind of is an addition because he didn't have him last year.
True.
So in a way, he's an addition. Going to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, but a reminder, they've got the warehouse part sale for Young Power Sports of Logan. It's next Saturday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 4:30. They're clearing out all overstock parts with discounts up to 75% off. Yeah, 75% off parts for 2019 and olders like Polaris, Razor, and General, Can-Am, X3, and Defender, and more. If you ride it, they've probably got parts for it, but when they're gone, they're gone. Don't miss it. It's a one-day blowout, August 16th, again, 10 a.m. to 4:30 at Young Power Sports on South Main in Logan. So to the text line we go, 8968. One more. I'm trying to interpret this. If that happens for BYU, like A&M, how cool would that be? Yeah, because we were saying Texas A&M. If BYU ended up like Texas A&M, it would be a weird ride because like Texas A&M is on this perpetual cycle of they are all talk, all bark and no bite. They talk the biggest game ever. That, especially when they moved to the SEC, like they were going to overtake Texas, the Longhorns, and now Texas going to the SEC, that ticked off the Aggies to no end, the Texas A&M Aggies. And yeah, it's crazy with Texas A&M. They constantly think that they are like one of the premier programs, premier athletic departments in the country. And if you rank them by budget, they are. If you rank them by what they've ever done on a sports field, not nearly as much. So maybe that happens to BYU.
Yeah, maybe BYU is in that same category.
It would be weird because like you get this constant. It was like the BYU of like the late 2000s, 2010s, where it was this constant. We're going to go undefeated every single year. You might have that same kind of thing continuing with BYU. 9-5 saying, I thought Jason was going to say longtime listener, first time texter, top 25 Aggie. Yeah, that's how much I botched the segue into the top 25 Aggies. But moving and shifting topics a little bit here. So, Eric, we had to deal with like an entire year of Utah Hockey Club and what's their name going to be, and like all of the spring and kind of maybe early part of the summer. I forget when the name got released exactly, but there was like several months.
Springtime, yeah.
There were several months that were going through the voting process. It was just this long process, like what's it going to be, trying to figure it out, revising the vote because like they'd put in a name that suddenly nobody liked because they got it down like the final three, and then they switched out. What was that random name they put? Because it was Outlaws and Mammoth. Those tended to be the big ones. Then they threw in like, what was the other one they put in? I suddenly can't even remember what it was.
Wasatch?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Wasatch because it was like their substitute for Yeti because I think they were still trying to use the Yeti iconography, but call it Wasatch based off of a mysterious creature who lives in the Wasatch Mountains that nobody has ever said anything about.
Right.
But with all of that, and they were going to go with Yeti, like that was the favorite, and then suddenly the Yeti, the coolers. That's what they
coolers,
make.
Right?
Coolers, among other cooling product. I think because they make like mugs and stuff like that to just anything that keeps your drinks cool or hot, I guess.
Right.
So they got into they couldn't get to an agreement with them. They didn't really have any legal tussle because it was like Yeti basically just said no. You can't do it. We're not going to let you. And Ryan Smith couldn't pull off any kind of agreement to allow that to happen. So they went with Utah Mammoth instead. That's what the fans wanted. But apparently we all just missed the fact that apparently there is a maker of hockey bags, like specifically hockey bags.
Hockey gear.
Called Mammoth.
Mammoth bags, and they are based in Utah.
Like, how?
How did that get overlooked?
Yeah, how did we miss that? And I guess they knew about it, and there was apparently a social media post where the Mammoth Bag Company said, because I think they were like, did a screenshot of like the poll, and they were showing all the names, and they like circled Mammoth, and they're like, we like this one. And so,
I think that they're, from what I heard, is that the bag company, this supplier, they actually reached out to say, hey, can we collaborate somehow? And I guess that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd, unless the Mammoth Bag Company was overplaying their hand, or unless the Utah Mammoth were lowballing them, I don't see why you wouldn't do that. I don't see why you wouldn't engage in some kind of agreement there. But it seems that they didn't really completely smooth things out beforehand. And now Utah Mammoth, they're preempting any lawsuit from the Mammoth Bag Company. Because that's what they're saying is that never mind. They got a cease and desist. Never mind. So on June 10th, they apparently got a cease and desist. And now, in response to that cease and desist, Utah Mammoth is basically suing, or I don't know if suing is the right word, because they're basically just trying to get trademark rights settled, get a judgment on the trademark rights saying, look, we can be Utah Mammoth, and that's that.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know how messy this is going to get. But honestly, when you look at the possibility of brand confusion, like the funniest thing that indicated that there definitely is bad confusion is I was reading the article, and at one point they say Mammoth, and then in parentheses, the bag company, or something to that effect. And I was like, yeah, the branding is a little confusing. But the funniest thing about the complaint was, and so this is the quote, says, hockey enthusiasts who pledge support for a team other than Utah Mammoth will not purchase goods from our client due to the consumer's mistaken belief that such a purchase would support a rival team. Basically saying they're going to lose business because they think that they're related. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them. Like, I don't blame Mammoth Hockey for, like, there's serious brand confusion and the actual potential. Like, if you're a fan of any other NHL team, do you want to show up to Beer League wearing a bag that says Mammoth on it? Like, especially if the Utah Mammoth starts developing rivalries with some of these teams.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily think that's going to, like, I don't think they're probably exaggerating it, but it's just like, this whole situation is kind of ridiculous because we went through this already. We went through this whole thing about a different company.
It was supposed to all be vetted before they made this official.
Yeah, they couldn't get it with the cooler company, but now the company that literally makes hockey equipment got overlooked. Like, what the heck, guys? Come on.
I know.
Is there secretly the company called Outlaws that makes hockey sticks? Like, is there one of those too? Like, are we just overlooking that as well? Just apparently the crazy stuff over the name just won't end.
Yeah, no, it's hard, like, to try to come up with something new and unique, especially when everybody knows that's what you're trying to do, and then you get a bunch of squatters out there.
Yeah, I know somebody tried to squat on the Twitter handle of Utah Mammoth. Didn't work out for him though.
No,
they ended up just yoinked it.
Yeah,
didn't even get to say, as far as I know.
But you'd think, with an army of PR people and lawyers and even the NHL people on your side trying to help you figure this out, that they would vet all of these potential opportunities or roadblocks. So it's a little surprising.
Yeah, these people are getting paid tens of thousands of dollars in salary. Their whole thing is branding. And then legal department, their whole thing is, make sure that this doesn't screw up everything. Make sure that we don't get sued over doing this. Let alone the process where you have to design things, because obviously that is a very precarious perch to be on, designing a logo. You can screw that up so easily. I mean, not necessarily a logo, but like in terms of branding, look what the Jazz did to themselves.
Right.
They set themselves back 2 or 3 years as the worst branded team in the NBA and are still recovering. They're just barely getting out of it to where now they're going to have some of the best jerseys in the NBA. But for 2 or 3 years, they were literally the worst without any argument. So you can get it wrong really easily, but I think they managed to nail it. I think, aside from the fact that I think the black and white color scheme is a little too present and there's not enough, they need another color that isn't black and white. Aside from that, again, powder blue color, which is objectively an amazing color for this team, and I love it.
Yes.
But they needed a copper or brown color as another accent. That's my only complaint. But other than that, I feel like they nailed it. The logo, I know Ryan Smith has this weird thing about finding reasons that their brand choices make specific sense to Utah. Like when they did the black and white and yellow, like there was this thing about piano keys and jazz and all that, and they made up this weird stuff. Then they had the soccer jerseys with RSL, the Welcome to Grid City, like it's a checkerboard pattern.
Yeah.
In what I have to say was a good jersey design. They didn't need to justify why it was a checkerboard because it looked good, but they had to invent this thing like, oh, it represents like the grid, because obviously Utah's built a lot on the grid system, often more so than other states. So it's like they have to come up with all these different things. But even though they baked a lot of that into the logo, it doesn't overpower the logo. It's just a really solid design. But now with all that work done, work well done overall, praiseworthy job for Ryan Smith and his branding department and all that. You got to deal with this mess.
Yes,
that's just annoying.
Done. It's not done.
And if they somehow have to change the name, which I doubt they're going to have to change the name. At worst, it's just going to be some kind of settlement. Maybe he has to pay some money or whatnot. Maybe Mammoth Hockey rebrands as something else. But yeah, the Mammoth name is going to stick. But it's just funny that it got messed up like this. So if you have any thoughts on the Utah Mammoth, their most recent name controversy that I thought we were over and done with. I thought we were over and done with talking about their name. You can go ahead and send in a text to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. 7241 saying RSL named it the Grid City kit because the league makes them come up with all these names and stuff. Every team in MLS is doing that, I guess. But they had the whole like commercial about Grid City, and it's just like, I don't know. And nobody has ever called anywhere in Salt Lake Valley or anywhere. Nobody's ever called it Grid City.
No, I've never heard that term before.
Like obviously the grid, as far as the way cities are built, that is very common.
Right.
But it's not called Grid City.
Yeah, all the streets are on a grid. Yeah, all that. Everybody understands that. If you've driven around Utah for any point in time, you get that. But nobody refers to it as Grid City.
Yeah, that's not a thing. Luckily, they're not trying to make it a thing. But anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift to the other league that Ryan Smith owns a team in, the NBA. We'll talk about something interesting. I got an email, this survey that was done with NBA fans. I thought it was interesting. So we'll talk about that next here on the Full Court Press.
Make it 5 years in a row. Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named gold medalist for the best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. They thank you for your support and vote of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the 5-time gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI, online at advancedheating-ac.com.
While you're making memories this summer on the lake, in the mountains, or around the fire pit, Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help you plan for days to come. Adams Wealth Advisors loves being your trusted neighbor and believes that smart financial planning is the key to a life well lived. Whether you're nearing retirement or just getting started, let Adams Wealth Advisors build a plan that gives you peace of mind today and tomorrow. Google Adams Wealth Advisors for a free consultation today. Local roots, lifelong guidance.
It's time to make the outdoor living improvements you've talked about. Castellite in Logan has everything you need to turn your backyard get-together into a backyard event. If you need pavers for a walkway, a retaining wall for your garden, or to reshape a flower bed, or a fire pit to roast marshmallows, think Castellite. Their experts will reduce your DIY stress for brick, block, rock, paver, and tile. Go where the pros go. Online at Castellite.com.
Hi, it's Emily, and here at Serenoni, we know not everyone sleeps the same. Some people run warm, some love to bundle up, even during the summer. That's why we offer different fabrics and textures, from light and breathable to warm and weighted, including our softest Minky, Plush Lush, Minky Stretch, Waffle, and more. There's truly a blanket for everyone. Come shop our full collection in our store on 10th West in Logan, next to iFit, where you can feel the difference. Serenoni, wrapped in comfort, gifted with love.
A diamond is forever and is perfect to represent your love. For those special occasions, give her a natural, one-of-a-kind diamond, as unique as she is. Our exclusive brand of Needham Brilliant Diamonds are white in color, high in clarity, and are recognized for their precise cut. These diamonds are natural, untreated, and are the real thing. Show her you care enough to give her a diamond, an investment for generations to come. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. SC Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
It's the Full Court Press. I'm Jason Walker. Got Eric Frandsen alongside me as usual. And I get, a lot of emails from like different PR departments and whatnot. They're trying to get me to cover a story or something like that. Most of them have nothing to do with me because they don't realize that I cover Utah State. So they're trying to get me to cover some random thing about like LeBron James or what Paul George said on his latest podcast. That kind of stuff. But I actually got an email that I thought was somewhat interesting. It came from Action Network or whatever PR representative sent this email. But they did a survey. They wanted to get this out there that they did. So they surveyed about 3,000 fans, which is admittedly kind of a small sample size of overall NBA fans, but in terms of size of a survey, it's actually not that bad. Should be somewhat representative of the NBA population, but it was about whether or not whether fans feel like they're getting priced out of NBA games as far as getting tickets. Are the tickets getting too expensive? And a majority of fans seem to think that that's kind of happening. Overall, about half of NBA fans think that NBA teams are pricing out fans with the amount that they have to pay for tickets, season tickets or just regular game tickets. The Utah Jazz, they have the fourth highest percentage of fans that feel like they're getting priced out of tickets. 60% of fans think that the prices are getting too high for fans to be able to pay. Only about 23% feel that the prices are just fine.
It's a pretty big number.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to a Jazz game. It's always been expensive to go to an NBA game, but it's just becoming increasingly difficult. Because I know some people who, even some people here in Cache Valley, who would have season tickets, and they'd go down to the games. But then
I wasn't sure if we went off air for a second there.
Okay. Yeah. If we're off, let us know on the text line. But
can we do a roll call real quick?
But it's getting so expensive and it's hard. You could go to a couple of games. You used to have those loyal fans who were there all the time and they were fixtures, and now it's just become corporations buy seats that they share and spread around, and it's like a reward thing or a loyalty thing. It's hard for, and you just don't have those fans that are there all the time in the mix. You're just not as many as you used to. I mean, there's always, Utah always boasts to having one of the best situations in NBA with the number of sellouts and the fan support. And to agree, that's true, but it's, the same number of people showing up to games are getting fewer. You get people there, but they're not the same people night in and night out.
Okay. 5452 said, a little blip, but you're on air. So that might have just been me messing with it because when I looked at the board, I was like, I'm not sure we're on air. So I had to maybe fix something.
There we go. Thanks, 5452.
So glad we're on there. But yeah, it's tricky. Like, we're seeing this in college sports too. I mean, Utah State, they're increasing their ticket prices. And there's people have to think about whether or not they're going to hang on to season. I've talked to people who aren't sure they're going to be able to, they're seriously considering not getting season tickets, and they'll have been season ticket holders for potentially longer than I've been alive.
Well, the game that Utah State has played forever is you make a donation to Utah State, and then that allows you the opportunity to buy season tickets.
But they're not unique with that, though.
No, they're not.
Most everybody does that.
Now it's like you make your donation, then you buy your tickets, but now there's another fee on top of that. That's the recruitment and retention that's just being added as an additional fee.
Yeah.
And that, again, is not unique to Utah State either. The story I saw today, there's this 88-year-old fan for the Tennessee Volunteers who has had season tickets for decades. Like, those are his seats. Every game, those are his seats. Everybody knows that's Joe's seat. I don't remember his name. Anyway, those are his seats. Well, now, I mean, the prices have gone up and continue to go up dramatically because they're trying to raise more money to pay the athletes and to keep the athletes in retention and recruitment. And so now this guy who's had his seats for forever is priced out of being able to be in his seats. And so now if he wants to go, he's got to go up in the upper echelons of even if he can afford to do that before he gets totally priced out of being able to go, period.
Yeah, it's just eventually there's a bubble that'll burst, you'd think. But we'll see what happens when we get there. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the stat that blew our minds here on the Full Court Press.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your health matters.
Hello, Cache Valley. Did you know the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan has bike and tube rentals? That's right. The Sportsman has kids' bikes, bikes for cruising around town, hardtail mountain bikes, and full suspension electric bikes for rent. If you haven't ridden an e-bike, you are missing out on so much fun. We can even give you ideas where to ride. If you need to rent a tube or many tubes for Bear Lake, Hiram Dam, or the Narrows in Idaho, we have those too. Come to the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan for your summer bike and tube rentals. Tons of parking in the back.
Bright green cars. That's the only thing you need to remember as you're driving down Main Street in Logan looking for Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Hi, this is Jarek. We have a lot of people comment on the bright green cars outside, and some even talk about the building, but the overwhelming responses come when they step inside. Jarek's showroom was created to offer an intimate, romantic setting for couples to enjoy their ring buying experience. Everyone is treated like a friend with no price negotiation needed. Make your engagement special. Make it Jarek's. Come see us at 930 North Main in Logan. Just look for the bright green cars.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
The weather is hotter, and Napa has what you need to be prepared. Napa Legend and Napa AAA batteries, and get a $25 rebate on Bosch lithium-ion batteries. They can even test your battery to make sure it actually needs to be replaced in the first place. Fuel treatments from Standardine, Howes, and Seafoam. It's all on sale for $8.49 a can. You can mention this ad, and you can get Napa 15W Premium Diesel Oil for $11.99 a gallon, cash and carry only. All that and plenty more at your locally owned President of Providence Napa Auto Parts locations. So I don't think we've played the little intro thing, but we've got to do the stat that blew our mind, Eric. If I can play that.
Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
Didn't play for a second. I wasn't sure whether it was going.
Yeah, we're good. We're going. So one that stood out to me, the Nationals. Not a very good stretch. They are the first team in Major League Baseball history to have a 4-game span in which they allowed 80-plus hits, 50-plus runs, and 10-plus home runs.
That's ridiculous.
Find a pitcher.
I think somebody commented saying Looney Tunes pitching staff.
Oh, my gosh. Play some defense, get a pitcher.
So the stat that blew my mind was more along the lines of, I can't believe people actually bought this, because I told you about this off air yesterday. But there was this guy who basically invented a stat where he said Shedeur Sanders was clocked at having the fastest thrown pass in NFL training camp history, saying he reached 71 miles an hour on this one random throw over the middle, which you look at the video, you can tell it didn't go 70 miles an hour because it looks like a duck. But he said it surpassed Peyton Manning's supposed record of like 64 miles an hour back in 2015.
Oh, brother.
And it didn't so much blow my mind that somebody would lie on the internet, but since it's stat related, I'm using it here. But it's like you look in the replies and different things like that, and it's like people wholeheartedly believing it. People who are like haters of Shedeur Sanders and those who are like believers in him. Like they're saying, oh, it doesn't matter that you throw that pass. It's training camp. And it's like,
Wait a minute.
He didn't even do that. He didn't even do it. It's like ridiculous. So that just blew my mind. I almost said something about it, but it started drifting into like social commentary, and I've sworn off social and political commentary. But it was about sports. So I figured I'd say that here. It's just like, come on, people. Like, actually think for a second.
Oh, my
And you go in the replies, and the guys are like, who's measuring this? And dude's like, me. And I was like, bro, you've not been measuring every pass thrown in training camp for, if it was something they've been tracking, it would have been since 2010 and whatnot. But it's just crazy that people actually bought that.
Who's out there with the radar gun?
Yeah, it's like you could measure one individual one. Fine, I'd believe that. But that there was this database, like I didn't buy it for 1 second. Anyway, that's going to do it for us this hour. We're going to talk more about Utah State football and Power Conference, their hold on sports in general. We'll be back after this.
Setters in football. They got a punishing backfield. Najee Harris and rookie Omarion Hampton. They've solidified both tackle spots, giving Justin Herbert the protection he needs. And now the front office is loading up the receiver room. Ladd McConkey brings explosiveness. Keenan Allen back in powder blue. The message is clear. No more wasting Herbert's prime. The AFC West is a gauntlet. Sean Payton in Denver, Vegas with Pete Carroll, and Kansas City. Well, they're Kansas City. For years, LA was the team with all the talent, but no bottom line end results in the playoffs. But that's changing. Harbaugh's influence is already showing. Herbert has weapons, protection, and a system built around him. The roster is more than just playoff caliber. It's playoff ready. And with that, means no more excuses. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.